So what if the future has, in a way, already happened?
Hmm.
Imagine time, not as this straight line forward, but more, I don't know, like a spinning record, where the same patterns, the same sort of melodies just keep coming back around.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It definitely flips our usual way of thinking, doesn't it?
Oh, totally. Sounds a bit wild, I know.
Yeah.
But this whole idea of like cyclical time, where what has been is what will be, it's not just an abstract thought.
Right, it's got deeper roots. And what's really interesting is the hint that maybe, just maybe, we can understand these recurring patterns. Maybe even, work with them somehow.
Exactly. That's the really fascinating territory we're diving into today.
We're so locked into that linear model, aren't we? Time marching on, always new. But these sources, they're really asking us to consider something else entirely.
Yeah, like the past isn't just done and dusted, but could actually loop back around and become the future again.
Oh.
It's mind-bending.
It is. And to explore this, we've got a really potent mix of material. There's a lecture from Neville Goddard given back in December 1963.
Right after the JFK assassination.
Exactly. And he tackles that huge, profoundly shocking event through this very lens of time repeating itself.
Wow. And there's something else too, right? A letter?
Yes, and this adds another layer. It's a letter that details this unbelievably vivid, premonition, really, of the assassination itself.
Okay, so we're not aiming to, like, reanalyze the assassination itself in the usual way.
No, not at all. We're using this specific, this tragic moment to ask a much bigger question. What if our fundamental grasp of time, of reality, is, incomplete? Or just plain different?
It's a chance to really stretch our minds, maybe see things from a completely new angle.
Hopefully have a few aha moments along the way.
All right, so let's start with that core idea then. Cyclical time. You mentioned the Bible, Ecclesiastes specifically. What does it actually say?
Well, the passage in Ecclesiastes 1, verses 9 to 11, is pretty direct. It says, what has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done, and there is nothing new under the sun.
Nothing new under the sun.
Yeah. And then it goes on saying basically that we don't really remember past events properly, and future generations won't remember what's happening now either.
So it's like history doesn't just rhyme, it fully repeats. But we kind of forget we've seen the episode before.
That's a great way to put it. Like watching reruns, but always feeling like it's the premiere. Our memory, our awareness of the repetition is limited within that cycle.
Makes you wonder about all our chasing after the new thing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And you mentioned a wheel of recurrence. How does that fit in?
The wheel of recurrence is basically a metaphor, a visual for that cycle. Imagine being stuck on this wheel, constantly turning, bringing back similar scenarios, challenges, experiences.
Okay.
And the source material brings in William Blake here, suggesting that there's a way off the wheel, or at least to transform the experience on it, through divine mercy, as Blake puts it, within the body of Jesus.
So it's not just doom and gloom, like we're stuck repeating forever.
Yeah.
There's a potential way out or through.
Exactly. It suggests the cycle exists, but also that transcendence or redemption from it is possible.
Okay, so we've got this ancient concept. Now let's bring in that letter, the premonition. This sounds pretty extraordinary. What are the details?
It really is remarkable. The letter was written on November 23rd, so the day after JFK was shot. But the writer is describing something that happened 10 days earlier, November 12th.
10 days before, okay.
Right. So this woman, she has this routine driving home. She always glances at the newspaper headlines displayed at a certain intersection. And one evening, it's getting dark. She sees a newspaper, but it's a really vivid green color. And the headline, in huge black letters, just screams, "Kennedy shot."
Green paper, that's so specific. And Kennedy shot, just, wow. What did she do? Did she pull over?
Well, her first instinct was almost to stop, to process it, but then, the rational mind kicks in immediately.
Oh, right, the doubt.
Exactly. She thinks, oh, it must be the dusk, the light playing tricks, or maybe, headlight glare. Plus, she reasoned, something that big. It would have been blasting on the radio in her office all day, and she hadn't heard a peep.
Okay, so she explains it away.
Yeah, dismisses it, an illusion, drives on, and the image just fades from her conscious mind. Poof.
Until November 22nd.
Until November 22nd. She gets to her office late that day, walks into just chaos and shock. Everyone knows. The news is everywhere.
Oh, man.
It's deeply unsettling, obviously. Then, later that afternoon, a coworker walks over to her desk holding a newspaper.
Don't tell me.
It has a green outer section, and the headline is, Kennedy shot.
Oh my God, the exact thing she saw.
The exact thing. But here's the trigger.
Hmm.
The coworker makes some casual comment like, wow, they got these papers out fast. And that specific comment about the speed of the printing, it just unlocked the memory.
Wow.
Flooded right back. The green paper, the headline, the feeling from 10 days before, all of it, instantly crystal clear.
That is chilling. Just absolutely chilling. The letter mentions how you and your wife reacted compared to friends. What was the difference there?
Yeah, it was interesting. For my wife and me, it felt, well, it resonated deeply. It seemed to confirm this possibility that reality isn't quite as solid or linear as we assume. Like a glimpse behind the curtain, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Our friends, though, they were much more focused on, like, the standard stuff. FBI, Secret Service, political angles, the kind of rational cause and effect analysis you'd expect. They were looking for answers within the normal timeline.
Which is totally understandable, of course.
Yeah.
But the woman who had the experience,
Yeah.
she seemed to take something far more profound from it.
Oh, absolutely. She wrote about feeling physically sick when she saw that newspaper again. Like she turned green. And she couldn't explain it to her coworker because how do you even start to say, I think creation is finished and this was all part of some cosmic play?
Right. How do you explain that?
She even mentioned this other strange feeling she'd had before. Like she could internally arrest an activity and watch the world pause around her. It hints at this deeper sense she had, that consciousness plays a much bigger role than we think.
Okay, this leads us perfectly into Neville Goddard's interpretation. How did he connect her specific premonition and her reaction to his broader teachings?
Well, Goddard saw her initial dismissal, the rationalization, as a prime example of what Isaiah called the lying sons.
Lying sons.
Yeah. Basically, our reason, our senses, telling us to ignore the deeper vision or intuition. He pointed to Isaiah chapter 30, verses 9 to 11, where it talks about people telling the seers, don't see visions, and the prophets, don't tell us the truth, tell us pleasant lies, illusions.
Though our own logic can fool us, essentially, make us miss something important.
That was his point. Interestingly, he actually used a verse from that same chapter, Isaiah 30.8, write the vision, make it plain on tablets, as the frontispiece for his book, The Law and the Promise. It underscored his acceptance of these kinds of experiences, even when the world, dismisses them.
So he believed her experience was valid, a glimpse into how things really work.
Definitely. He saw our everyday logic as sometimes being the very thing that blinds us to that deeper, interconnected reality.
And how does he describe that reality? You mentioned a play.
Yeah, he often used Shakespeare's Hamlet as an analogy. He described our current experience as being like actors in a vast, eternal play. The garment, our physical body, our circumstances is something worn repeatedly.
Why?
By different individualizations of God, essentially. God experiencing itself subjectively through all of us. He also talked about two times. There's your time, which is the linear time we experience here within the play.
Our day-to-day reality.
Right. And then there's my time, which he described as God's time, a timeless realm of pure imagination, pure potential, a state of freedom we haven't fully woken up to yet.
Okay, so within this play, how does something like the assassination fit? Are individuals like Kennedy or Oswald just puppets playing roles they can't change?
From Goddard's viewpoint, yes, in a fundamental sense. The individuals are playing parts, fulfilling roles within this immense divine drama of God discovering itself through experience. He taught that these garments, these roles and scenarios, are part of the eternal structure of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So events, even horrific ones, from our perspective, are part of this unfolding. He'd point to Jesus saying to Pilate, you would have no power over me unless it had been given to you from above, suggesting different levels of reality, different sources of power, or scripting, if you will.
Wow. Okay, I can hear listeners thinking, well, what about free will then? And what about all the suffering? Is that just part of the script too? How did Goddard address that? Because that's a tough pill to swallow.
It is tough, and he addressed it directly. He argued that the inequalities, the suffering, the hardships we see, they aren't punishments for sin in some past life, not in the traditional karmic sense.
Okay, so what are they?
He framed them as necessary parts of God's process of self-individualization. He used the example of the man born blind in the Gospel of John. Jesus says the blindness wasn't because of his sin or his parents' sin, but so that the works of God might be displayed in him.
So even the hard stuff serves this larger divine purpose.
That's the challenging idea, yes. That every experience from joy to sorrow is God experiencing itself fully.
But if it's all a kind of play, are we just stuck? The letter mentioned someone apparently trying to warn President Kennedy. In Goddard's view, could that have even made a difference? Or was the ending already written?
That's a key point. Goddard suggested that while the grand drama unfolds according to this deeper script, changing specific events from within the play is incredibly difficult, almost impossible sometimes, especially when it involves deeply ingrained patterns or, as he might put it, the assigned values or roles.
Yeah, so the warning attempt.
Yeah. He implied that even with a warning, the event likely would have unfolded anyway, because it was such a pivotal, structural part of that particular turn of the wheel, you could say. But, and this is crucial, that this doesn't mean we have zero agency.
Ah, okay. So where does our power lie then? You mentioned redeeming the time or revision. How does that work?
Right. Redeeming the time, which Goddard basically equated with repentance or revision, is where our individual power comes in. It's not about changing the external past, but about changing our internal relationship to it.
How so?
It involves consciously, deliberately revisiting past unpleasant events in your imagination. You replay the scene, but revise it. You imagine it happening the way you wished it had happened, feeling the feelings of that positive outcome.
Okay.
By doing this persistently, you change the memory's emotional charge within you. And the idea is, since reality is cyclical, when a similar theme or situation comes around again on the wheel, your revised inner state, your changed consciousness about it will actually influence how it manifests externally next time.
So you're using your imagination now to reshape how you experience recurring patterns later.
Precisely. It's about taking control of your inner world to influence your future journey on this recurring wheel. Goddard even shared a personal story once about experiencing a moment where he felt he could arrest all activity around him, even like birds in midair, just by arresting an activity within his own consciousness, illustrating his belief that the outer world is fundamentally animated by and reflects our inner state. He always stressed that ultimately, Jesus Christ is the only God, meaning the one divine consciousness is the ultimate reality. But we are all individualizations, incorporations into that one being.
So by changing ourselves inwardly through revision,
we change our experience of the play. It's why he defined repentance not just as regret, but as a radical change of mind, a mental shift. He often ended by referencing Jesus' words, like in John 16:28, I came from the Father and have come into the world. Again, I am leaving the world and going to the Father.
as a metaphor for
As a metaphor for this whole journey. Coming into the world, experiencing the wheel, and ultimately, through awakening and perhaps revision, breaking free from the cycle and returning to that source consciousness, the Father.
Okay, wow. Let's try and pull some threads together here. It's a lot to take in.
It really is. Deep stuff.
So we've got this biblical hint of cyclical time, this idea that there's nothing new under the sun.
Right, the wheel of recurrence.
Then this incredibly stark premonition of a huge historical event, the JFK assassination, described in that letter.
Yeah, that vivid green newspaper.
And Neville Goddard weaving it all together, saying, basically, this is evidence of how reality works. It's a grand play, creation is finished, events recur.
But crucially, that our inner state, our consciousness, particularly through this practice of revision, gives us a way to navigate and potentially alter our experience of these recurring patterns.
Yeah, that's a good summary. And it really leaves us, and hopefully our listeners, with a pretty profound question to chew on, doesn't it?
Definitely. If time isn't just this one-way street, if it loops back, how does that change how you look at your own life, your past, your present, even your future?
Right. What parts of your own past, maybe unpleasant ones, might you think about revisiting, revising, if you believe similar themes could genuinely circle back around?
It makes you think, what are the implications if reality is, in some sense, already done and our inner world, our imagination, is the key to how we actually live through it?
It's a radically different perspective. This has certainly been a deep dive into some truly extraordinary territory.
Absolutely. And if this sparked something for you, if you're curious, exploring Goddard's work directly, well, there's a whole universe there about consciousness and reality.
Definitely food for thought. Thanks for unpacking that with us today.
My pleasure. It's fascinating stuff.